Suicide is real, and it's happening to the ones we love every single day. The survivors left behind by their loved ones suffer the most. Danae Ramos Pachuki is a mental health counselor who still grieves the loss of a younger sister who died by suicide shortly after graduating high school. She's offered to share her story to shed light on the suffering of the aftermath.
I was in the hospital recovering from a C-section when I found out. My parents were there with me and they got a call. And I knew something was wrong, I just didn't know what it was. So it wasn't until a few hours later when my father came back and had told me what happened, and it was horrible. My first day home with the baby was like my first day home without a sister. Literally was totally completely shocked. Like, it was the furthest thing from my mind. Like, when I had heard that my parents got called by the police and that had something to do with Ashley, I thought it was a car accident or something. That was literally the furthest thing from my mind. She'd never been hospitalized. She never had any obvious warning signs. To my knowledge, we just thought she was, she definitely had her moods. We thought she was just a moody teen. We didn't really put two and two together. And the funny thing is, I work in the mental health field. I mean, that's my job. I mean, however many months earlier, maybe 6 months earlier, I was in an entire training on how to spot people that are suicidal. And I had no clue at all. Yeah, no, I always tell people, because I feel like part of the stigma is that people don't talk about it. To me, suicide is in another way almost like another type of disease. Like, if you're not ashamed to tell somebody passed from diabetes, then I shouldn't be ashamed to say that even though, again, there definitely is more stigma attached to it, but I, for that reason, do the complete opposite. I make sure to talk about it, and I think it's important to talk about. I think one of the biggest misconceptions that people have is that it's selfish. I think people consider it selfish, but when someone's in that much pain, or if they're struggling with some sort of illness or what have you, to me it's not selfish. It's their way of coping, and it's obviously it's not a good way to cope, because the coping is basically they leave this earth, but that's their way to end the pain. And I think people think it's a selfish act because people think, oh, I'm gonna do this to hurt the people around me or whatever. But I think for the most part, it's someone dealing with their own pain. Just that people are, quote unquote crazy, or I think mental health in general has a huge stigma attached to it. Even when you see it perpetrated in the media, you don't really see, it's either completely dramatized where they make it about the drama behind it, and not just the real life people that are dealing with these things. And not everybody that commits suicide has a mental illness, but in general, I think any type, the views towards people that have any type of emotional turmoil is so negative that it causes people to not want to reach out, because I feel like our society builds people up to handle your own problems and be strong and pull yourself up by your bootstraps type of thing, where really we should be telling people, like, no, you know what, like, people struggle and life is hard and you should reach out for help. I think we need to talk about it more. I think talk about it in healthy ways, and and not make it like a glamorous thing either. We have to find a way to talk about it in a way that is respectful and safe, in a safe way, not to dramatize it, but also to bring awareness to it. Have talks about it with your kids, people that are parents. Talk to your kids about it. Talk to anyone. I think just her goofiness, she was always like kind of a little ball of energy, she could, like light up a room, you know what I mean? Like, you could be having a bad day and she'd just be a total goofball. So I think just the goofiness, like, and she was always very like, I'm sorry, very childlike and silly, and I think that's what I miss most.
I've been on the low, I've been taking my time. I feel like I'm out of my mind. It feel like my life ain't mine. Who can relate? Woo! I've been on the low, I've been taking my time. I feel like I'm out of my mind. It feel like my life ain't mine. I don't wanna be alive.